everybody, to the Boom and Freezer Show. I'm excited about this episode. And before that, I'm excited to talk about our partner for this episode, and it is Hilltop Promotions. It's one table, two players, one winner. Coming July 11th and 12th, it's Shane Van Boning versus Fedor Gorst in a race to 50 for all the money, $20,000 up top. The winner will move on, and we're calling it the King of the Hill. And we have a special guest, as you see on the screen, longtime friend of mine, longtime road player, tournament player, teacher. He does it all. It's CJ Wiley.
How y'all doing, Scott? I appreciate you inviting me on here. And Bobby, nice to meet you. We were talking about your nickname, and I wondered how you got that name Boom. I know how Wade Crane got it. You know, he was like Boom Boom because of the break shot. But anyway, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Of course, CJ, I'm super excited. Of course, Bobby Boom here, like we said. Of course, my partner over there, Scott Frost. CJ Wiley, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy. It's done it all, right? Been on the road, long time, professional pool player for a long time. You're, like Scott mentioned, doing clinics and everything. Let's talk a little about CJ. Who is CJ Wiley? What are you? What are you doing right now, too?
I do a lot of things. I always, I was a pool player for a long time, but I always had other interests, especially athletic stuff, and I like to be outside. But I played golf, tennis, and pool at the same time when I was growing up. And I played tennis in the summer and then pool in the winter. Believe it or not, back then we didn't have air conditioning at my pool room. so playing in the summer was a drag. So I played tennis, and then I got into golf and had a really good instructor named Hank Haney, who was also another guy you may have heard of, Tiger Woods, swing coach.
Yeah.
We got to be real good friends. But I see a correlation between a lot of sports and activities and pool. I have a saying that the game is the teacher, and that really means I can draw a bridge from the game of pool and my experiences to just about anything else. And I know Scott can relate to that. If you have that referential index of pool, it builds some wisdom, especially when you're hanging around the pool rooms of old. You had to be pretty sharp to get out with the money.
Yeah,
Definitely.
we've talked before. We've talked before, but I went to college. I took criminal justice. I went to college for a year while I was trying to play pool. I don't think you can get a better education. I mean, for life in general, and learning how to survive and learning literally like all the little ins and outs of life, how to keep yourself safe, your significant others safe. The road just gives you, if you use it to your benefit. Now it can, and I'm sure you're going to talk about this, it can take you the other direction as well, right? You can crumble really quickly on the road, or you can persevere and like allow it, like you just said, it can become your teacher. And for me, it was, I wouldn't take back one moment that I've had. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree. And it got me into some other stuff too. I've got a degree in neurolinguistic programming, and I studied hypnosis. It was all the mental type stuff fascinated me. And it came from pool though, and getting into the zone. And one of the first books I read was the inner book, or Tim Galloway, the inner book of tennis, or the inner game of tennis, excuse me. But then Zen and the Art of Archery was the one that really made an impression on me. And it was about becoming what you're doing, becoming the cue ball was my first mental game thought. But it's fascinating, what it leads you to.
Makes a lot of sense. And you just talked about a little bit about golf and tennis, and we have Scott and I have a lot of people on the show, a lot of professional players, like, Earl's big on golf or tennis, and he likes to play golf as well. Why do you think those other sports correlate so well with the pool player? You think it's the gambling or playing by themselves or getting in the zone, like you call it, like when you're in golf, you get in the zone by yourself. You know what I mean? Do you think those things have similar correlations?
Yeah, golf and pool have a lot of similar correlations. You're playing shape on a hole, but it's, it's angles and you're playing margin of error, and you're always figuring percentages and things like, the wind and the, even the humidity. But that's golf, but you also do in pool. Like I've been in big money matches where they open up the door and it's raining, and you got to be ready to be able to acclimate to different conditions. And if you're playing against seasoned gamblers, they're going to throw a lot of things at you. That's why you have to have that experience to be able to go into those kind of pool rooms and win. You know, the ones with the experienced players, like, you know a long list of them: Sammy Jones and Billy and Cardona and John Cooney, and they're hard to beat.
You just brought up a member. You know, they want to do another show with me, or Bobby does, and you just brought up something that came to my mind, because you as well as I do, we've got so many stories, I don't think, in our lifetime, and I'm not a storyteller unless I'm kind of put on the spot, but you just brought something up to me. So the first few times Billy and Cardona and I played before we became partners, and we were partners for the last close to 20 years. But before that, I beat him multiple times, giving him pretty big spots, like 10-6, and he gets to move a ball after the break to the spot. A little complicated. But I beat him 3 or 4 times, and he was really good action if you could beat him, but he was also very smart. So do you remember that private room they had in Dallas called Diamond?
Yeah.
Okay.
I lived right down the street from it.
Yeah. Okay. So he invites me there, and he says, you know, if you're going to beat me, you might as well beat me in my own room. And he invites me there. So I bring a guy from here, Preacher Ron, who was a good friend of mine, had an airplane. I beat him out of a lot of money too, had his private airplane. Anyway, we go to Dallas to play him, and you're just talking about outside things and environment. So we start playing, and I'm struggling on this table a little bit. And we're playing the same game. He didn't ask to adjust. I was giving him 10-6 the break, and he gets to move any ball after the break in the line of the spot line, right? Wherever the rack, wherever the ball falls in line. And I'm struggling, but we're like going back and forth. And back then we played by the game. And I think we're playing 2,000 a game. Back and forth. And all of a sudden, I'm really struggling now. Like, he's beat me like 3 or 4 in a row, and I don't know what the hell's going on. But I see him 2 different times walk over about 20 feet to whatever direction, let's say to the left, and it was a dark room. He walked over to the left, and I saw his arm go up twice. I was like, right?
Air conditioner.
Yes, dude. So the whole ceiling in this pool room was black. They painted it black, right?
Yeah.
And there was this big round vent directly over the pool table, over the pool table. And anytime the table was playing decent, he would go over there and hit that unit. And I mean, I'm telling you, he beat me out of about 20,000. And that was the first and last time he beat me. Then we met up in Galveston, and I tried to play him on regular equipment. And he said, it might be better off if we just become partners. And so we ended up becoming partners. Yeah. But that was the whole thing, to your point. You could go anywhere, and that was one of the biggest moves that CJ was talking about is air conditioning and heat, right? Like you can change the play of a table like that with those units.
Yeah, or playing one pocket, sneaking a playing card or 2 under the leg of the table. You know, you can do that in 10 seconds, and you know, you just got to be aware of that. The table starts rolling.
Hey, can you explain that a little bit? Because I want people out there, because most of our fans are pretty educated on the sport, but, you know, playing one pocket, what do you mean by putting a card under the table? Can you explain that?
Well, real quick, if somebody goes to the bathroom, like if CJ and I are gambling and I run to the bathroom, we've been playing for 3 hours, and I run to the bathroom, I'll let CJ finish it. But I run to the bathroom. CJ and his backer could pick the corner of the table up and put 4 cards under there, and the whole table plays completely different. You don't know what happened.
Yeah, you see, like, let's say Scott likes to break to the left pocket, and you know that, and he always does. Then, like he said, you know, either before the match or during the match. See, I can go down like I'm racking and go down and lift the table up with my knees about 3 inches or 4 or 5 inches.
Same
you know,
here.
and you wouldn't think so, but I mean, even a full diamond table, I can pick that up. And I haven't done that, but I know people that do. So if you lift that table up, they stick a couple, you know, like 3 or 4 playing cards under there. Now it throws the table off, and you want it to go towards your pocket and away from his, basically. And that's enough to win, you know, because if somebody's used to a table, it really messes them up.
Yeah, what it does is
it
it forces me to break to the other side, right?
Yeah,
And
you would have to.
If you
Right.
catch it, if you catch it, or you get stubborn,
If
and you
you catch
get stuck in your way, and you're like, all right, I know this, I'm going to do it right.
a top player typically going to catch that ball rolling off pretty quick. It's only going to take one or two long rail banks, right? And you're
Yeah.
gonna be like, what the frick just happened here? So you just got to switch, but then you're switching to a side, and that's the most important shot in the game. I'm sure that's happened to me many times. I've never done that either. I mean, I had no reason to ever do that. Typically, if I'm matching up, I'm probably pretty good before I start. But that's a real good move. I'm sure that's been done many, many times.
Yeah. Well, like I've said before, it's just like I traveled with card mechanics, and they did have moves they put on people, but even the ones that didn't put moves on people, they still had to know how to do it. Because how else are you going to keep it off of you? So guys that's never cheated at cards, they still know, how to catch people dealing seconds, and they understand the game well enough from a perspective that would alert them if they're getting cheated. I know several of those people, but pool's the same thing. It's just harder to hide.
You're killing me, and I've got to bring this up too, because these are stories I never think of, and now you're bringing them up. But you're talking about card mechanics. Billy and Cardona's brother-in-law, his name was Jimmy Shahadi, and he was known at the time for about 20 years as the best card mechanic in America. And he would go overseas and beat like royalty people. And this was real. He beat the Italians in New York City, and his percent was 1%. And he beat him by like $22 million. This is all true stories. You can look up Jimmy Shahadi. Anyway, we're trying to beat a card game in Lafayette, or he's trying to beat the card game, and I'm trying to beat this pool player in Lafayette, Louisiana. And I had to pick him up in New Orleans, and I pick him up in New Orleans, and he had a big weakness, and his weakness was casinos, right? He'd beat everybody by cheating them, and then he'd go blow the money on the square. A real freaking freak, right? So, and I loved him. He was entertaining, but he had no money on it. And Billy put me with him, right? So I picked him up from the airport, and he's like, all right, we got to get a room first. We got to do this. And he's an older, like, Italian guy, and he's really slick, right? One of the best. And he's like, all right, that's the hotel. Let's go get the hotel, right? And I'm not rich, right? But I had like maybe 10 or 12,000 on me. I'll never forget it. We pull in this hotel. He goes, I'll be right back, right? And he comes right back out, and he says, give me 1,200. He says, we're just staying here tonight. I said, what do you need 1,200 for? He said, well, we need 3 rooms. One for you, one for me, and one of my rooms to work out of. I've got to work and make my things. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what, dude? I'm going to go broke in like 4 days with this guy. Anyway, that's just the start of that story, but sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you learn, one of the things that taught me about how powerful the subconscious was I was with this card mechanic from Alabama, and we're up on the Tennessee-Kentucky border, up in the mountains. There was a certain time of the year where their crop came in, the type of crop,
Yep.
and it made a lot of money. And those guys would walk around, I swear they would carry their money in like Burger King bags and McDonald's bags and Kmart. And they'd have like 30 or 40,000 in a McDonald's bag. So we went there, we got steered up there, and so we go in there, and I beat them the first night out of about 15 or 1,600 playing pool. But my friend goes back there and plays cards with them and loses. So I don't know if you've been around those card mechanics like I have. They hate to lose.
No
they hate to lose. It's not
like pool players.
Worse, way worse,
really?
Way worse.
Because
they don't ever lose, but once in a while somebody cheats better than them. So we're leaving there, and he's pissed, man. His forehead's red, and I'm like, so what happened? I said, how did they beat you? He says, I don't know for sure. He says, they were doing something to me. I just couldn't figure out what it was. I said, so what are we going to do? He said, I'm going to go back and beat them. And I said, well, how are you going to beat them if you don't know what they're doing to you? He says, I'm going to show you. He said, I'm going to put in some marked cards. I said, well, how are you going to do that? So we went down to a store that was close to the bar. And this is a little town in the mountains. Like, there's only one store. So he goes in there and gets all the cards and tells them he's going to have a poker game. So we go back to the hotel. He steams those cards open and proceeds to mark them with a pocket knife.
He's talking
because he doesn't.
when he says steams them, he's talking about the seal, the plastic seal.
Yeah, with an iron. Yeah,
Yeah. So he can reseal them. Yeah.
Yeah, because you got to take them out and put them back in, and you can't be able to tell that somebody did that. And that's
right. You can't have an open deck. You can't come with an open deck.
So he didn't have his. They call it paint or daub, and so he marked them with a pocket knife. So I said, "Hey, man, give me those cards. I want to see where the mark is." He said, "You can't see it." And I said, "Man, I got great eyes. I know it's there. Just give it to me. I'll just, double check at one that doesn't have it and see where it's at." He says, "You won't be able to see it." So I said, "Give me those cards." So I looked for like 10 or 15 minutes on a mission. I can't see them at all. I said, "Are you sure these are marked?" Now, here's the interesting thing.
Once you see
when
it,
he showed me, when he showed me where that mark was, when he held a card up, that's all I could see. Like, I'd see the mark before I'd see the card.
Right.
Yeah.
And that taught me something powerful about the subconscious, man. When something, you've had that experience where maybe you buy a new car and all of a sudden you see how many of those same cars are around.
Yeah.
Your subconscious is powerful. And that's part of the reason I started to really try to develop it, because I knew how powerful it was from pool and things like that. So
that's great.
But
very good. Very good.
Did he win his money back?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He did.
Yeah, he beat him out like 5,000 or 6,000, And there's no way. Well, and just to finish it real briefly, he goes in there and says, "Hey, if you don't mind, can you get some new cards?" They sent a guy down to the store that bought the cards, brought them back, and then he's got his cards in. I know people that's done that to a whole city, an area that they gamble a lot.
Yeah.
They put cards in all the stores around that place and played there for a year and would beat them out of like hundreds of thousands. I mean,
that happens all the time.
Wow.
That still happens.
There's a couple people out there right now going, "CJ," but
the big thing
you're
now
probably never going to run into that, really. But
that's crazy stuff, man. And how did you do in pool after that? You made 1,700. Did you go back and play some more pool?
They didn't play me any more pool. We were focused on that. But it always made me nervous. I wasn't really, like doing stuff like that.
Right.
Pushed the envelope with me. I felt, I knew that was wrong. Hustling pool to me never was a big deal because they were trying to hustle me too. And I was always, when I was doing that, I looked young, I was young, and I brought out the larceny in them. And so I never felt bad about taking somebody's money playing pool. And quite honestly, a lot of them in retrospect learned lessons from losing, just like I have.
Yep.
Scott, you can agree, some of the greatest lessons you learn is after you lose, not after you win.
That's all I've ever said. Any major tournament I ever won, I don't feel like I ever learned anything, but every major tournament I lost, I feel like I learned everything, right?
Yeah.
You don't really win. It's more about the chase of getting there, right? It's more about learning in the whole process of getting there. It's like chasing I've said this on the show. It's like chasing the hottest girl in Houston or the hottest girl in Phoenix, and you're chasing her, and you're chasing her, and you're chasing her, and you finally get her, and you're like, well, now, right? Like,
Yeah, you got her.
You know the feeling, CJ. I mean, we've all done it, right? But that's similar. And I don't know what it is, Bobby and CJ, but I guess it just goes hand in hand with gambling. But it seemed like when we were on the road, I always somehow, if I ended up by myself, I always somehow ended up pairing up with a top card mechanic or a big bookmaker, right? It was one of the two. Yeah. It always just seemed like one of the two. And I was pretty much a loner. But that they went hand in hand, and I didn't feel good about the card maker or the card mechanic guy either. By the way, that guy got killed. He got killed trying to cheat a prince overseas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another thing about card mechanics is they're dangerous, because
you
they
get caught.
expect to get caught. They're ready,
Yeah.
I always try to tell people, because I got several friends, and I'll say it to people in front of them, and they'll agree with me.
Yeah.
They're badasses, and they will do something to you because it's life-threatening to them. Like you just said, you can get killed for cheating somebody, so they know that.
That's
so
right.
they're ready, and other people aren't ready. So if they get an emotional thing and like, I'm going to get that guy, it's too late. That guy will do something to them.
That's
so
right.
if you do catch somebody cheating playing cards, it's probably better to just learn your lesson and not push it too hard because, they will be armed and dangerous, and there again, I think a lot of people will agree that's listening to this, that's been in that world. And, when you are a great pool player, you do draw in people that are great at other things, like, dart throwers and, backgammon and shuffleboard. I know some of the best in the country at all those games.
Yeah.
Part of it is because you're kind of lonely at the top, right? Because you're by yourself. It's not like you can run with your best partner forever, right? You have to be.
Well, they want to make money off of you, though.
Yes,
It's more like, I always felt like I was being pimped off at times when I was young. These older guys, they saw me as a money guy that could generate money. And, they grew hopefully to like me a little bit, but I knew what was going on, And there again, if I'm with them and they're a card player, dice player, backgammon player, whatever it is, I know that hopefully I'll take off some big scores and so will they. And it takes the heat off of having to win playing pool every day. Some areas they don't play pool as much as cards or dice or, maybe it's.
But even backgammon's big. Yeah, backgammon was big for a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shuffleboard is big. I know a guy in Omaha that plays super good. Guy in Dallas too is one of the best in the country. I beat him a game playing shuffleboard with him coaching me. Because I was thinking about getting in and playing, because you really can win a lot of money playing shuffleboard. You could back then. This was about 10 years ago. But he coached me, and I've got real good hand-eye coordination. And actually, the stroke for shuffleboard is similar to pool and some of these other. Everything's got a stroke to it, whether you're shooting a basketball or the pool or whatever. And there again, I'm not bragging or anything. I could never beat him another one, but I just happened to do everything he told me.
Yeah.
But if he hadn't have told me how to win, I couldn't have, because there's a lot more strategy than you think. Just like in pool, people can't dream how much strategy's in a game like one pocket or one. Did you ever play push out 9-ball, Scott? Was that before?
Yes.
Yeah. You just brought
up the tail end of it.
You just brought up another crazy memory, and I won't go into it, but Marcus, I'll just tell it briefly. Marcus Schmott and I are on the road, and he was a collegiate tennis player. And he played ping pong at a real high level. And there was another pool room in Tulsa besides the billiard palace. And somebody told us the owner over there gambled really high. When we went over there, and there was 16 ping pong tables. And we're like, what the hell? And the guy comes out of the back room and says that he'll give this. I'm just telling the quick story. He says he'll give Marcus, and we beat a lot of people. We were together 5 years. Beat a lot of people out of a little money. And the guy says, well, I'll play you a set for $5,000. I'll give you 20 to 21, and I'll play with my opposite hand. And he's talking to Marcus. No, he said he'd give him 20 to 20 points to 21, playing with his regular hand. He didn't mention anything about his opposite hand for $5,000. And we jumped on it. We couldn't wait, because Marcus, to me, was a top ping pong player. I knew there was elite ping pong, right? And the guy beats Marcus the first two sets. We're 10,000 loser, and we're like almost broke. I think we had like 10,000 left. Marcus, if he watches this, he'll follow up and tell the whole story. But anyway, long story short, the guy ends up giving Marcus 18 to 21 playing with his opposite hand. He was 3-time world champion. So your whole point. I've never seen anything like it. I sat there we played for 3 days off and on, right? And I was just in awe. So when you talk about drawing great people that are great in their disciplines, it just seemed like that's what would happen with top pool players, is you would somehow find a way to get to the best of the best in whatever the hell they did.
Yeah, you guys knew what it was like the guys that you spot 14-4 to or something. 18. They just can't, they don't realize how hard it is to make one ball. Just like him getting 1 point. It's a lot harder than what people think.
Right. Yeah, that's how we made it.
You remember, who were you playing, Scott, in Phoenix? Remember when I was there and you played like 30 hours with a guy and you were giving him a huge spot?
Preacher Ron, probably. The guy with the airplane.
That was Preacher Ron, right? Yeah, because I was there when you played Billy, too, there in Dallas, that story you talked about. I was there because I remember it had an elevated area, and I remember sitting there. I can picture looking down and watching you guys play.
Yeah. Oh, and, that same guy that I was playing here in front of you is the same guy that staked me out there playing Billy.
Right. I remember him now. Yeah. But that's how, another thing, you were asking about pool and tennis and everything. All those things also are like self-expression. And they that's what I think pool is more than a game or a sport. It's a way of like an art form, where you can express yourself to the outside world, what's going on in your inside world, and I think tennis is like that. Golf is like that. A lot of those sports, especially the individual sports, people,
yeah.
I think a lot of us had like tough childhoods and things weren't quite like, like I think the golfers probably had better childhoods than we did, but pool players generally, the father figure was a little shaky or maybe he was, who knows, but I've seen that pattern run and, it is for me. I can speak for myself. I feel like I'm expressing myself through the game, and I talk about going from a point when I get in the zone from me playing the game to the game playing through me. That's the best way I can describe it. The game plays through me. But there's a process to get there. It's not, a lot of people will never reach that unless they know how to, you understand what I'm saying, Scott? You have to be able to put yourself in that zone.
Yeah, and you can plan for that process to happen because you've had it happen before, and oftentimes it won't come. But you have to be able to prepare for that to come, and you have to be able to put yourself there, like you said, and everything has to be right? The way you're living, the way you're playing, the way you're practicing, your mindset, everything. It's like a Zen experience, right? And playing through, I guess I called it something similar, but I felt like everything was just part of my body. I felt like I was connected to the balls and the table and the clock, and like, it was an experience that you don't remember really. It's like this weird out of body, like just a wild experience.
Yeah. I used to black out. I've played some of my best matches I've ever played. The best, I remember it like a dream. Like it was, I remember doing it, but it wasn't physical like normal memories. It was more like you said, you're so attached and connected to everything. And that's exactly the theme in a lot of my teaching is connecting to the game. Like instead of aiming this ball at this ball to hit that pocket, there's a connection that happens where all three become one. And that's hard to teach. I'm getting better and better at it, but a lot of people have been taught such a visual way to play pool that they don't realize and can't really take advantage of the fact that it's a feel and touch that's really the secret to playing at a championship level, right?
Yeah.
You feel, it's like an instinct. You have this heightened awareness. It's an amazing thing.
Everything is so mechanical nowadays with all the information out there. So it's real easy to just go down that road when you're teaching versus this side that you're talking about, which would be tough to teach because you've got to be able to get through to the student as to what you're talking about, because it can get kind of deep, right? For them to be able to understand that. And you've got to find a way that they relate to you to find that process. So I love talking about it, obviously.
And what do you think about?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, CJ.
No,
I was gonna say, like when talking about like an Earl Strickland, right? He was like an artist, right? When you're out there on the table playing and everybody watched, that's what you're talking about, right? When he winning all those championships, he's playing, like you said, almost through the game, right? He's not playing X's and O's. He's not playing the angles. He's just playing the game, right? That's what you're getting to.
Yeah, performing, and he said, the first time he played in front of an audience, it really did something. He liked it. And so I think he's performing in his mind. I mean, he may not say that, but that's the best description. Because a lot of us, like I remember when I started playing on TV, like ESPN, I had a problem because when I went into the zone, I didn't talk to anybody. And it wasn't like I was just rude, but I was in my own world so deep. I might play somebody for 20 hours and never say anything to them. But they wouldn't say anything to me either, necessarily. You know what I mean? But when I started playing on TV, they were wanting me to interact with the crowd and to show some personality. I had to work on that to be able to do it. And I was able to do it. But I really had to make a concentrated effort to be able to go in and out of that zone. And to me, that was a lot harder than staying in it. Because when you pop out of it, there is a worry that you might not be able to get back in.
Of course.
Oh, there's a big worry.
Of course.
Real quick. It's interesting you say that too, because we just did a short of John Lehman, who's one of our guests on the show, and we were talking about a lack of characters nowadays, as far as the elite player. But as you're saying that, I'm thinking, I think that might be the biggest reason for that. These guys have personalities off the table. Most of them are hilarious. Most of them are funny. Maybe the biggest thing is the sport has gone, and I know you both will agree, the sport's gone to such a high level now that maybe these guys are just so good at finding that place that's what's happening every time they walk into the arena, right? And so it almost looks boring to the fan. And I think that
Yeah.
is really what's actually happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's a lot, probably like Jason Shaw does it really well, like Moscone Cup and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the place where they're allowed to do that. I think they go overboard just a little bit. I wish there was something kind of in between where, jumping up on the table and high-fiving after every shot. You know what I mean? I was a captain of the Moscone Cup, and, I went along, but I just, you know what I mean? I didn't want to go too
What
overboard.
do you mean? What do you feel? Tell us what you mean by that.
Well, there's a character to the game itself, and there's I look at it like there's a mystique to it, like it's got a mysteriousness, and if you get too jovial when you're playing and everything's, I think it takes away from that, I think pool, just like the Hustler, like there's a lot of things that were negative about the Hustler with drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. But man, when they showed Jackie Gleason and Paul Newman playing and they had the suits on, and man, it was just there's a stylish thing that I think is important to keep with pool. But then again, you can do that and still have the personalities. I mean, look at that movie, and Paul Newman and Jackie Gleason both had great personalities, but they were still not overboard.
Yeah, I think what they're looking at now, though, in Moscone Cup versus like the U.S. Open or the Florida Open, like Jason's a completely different player in the major events now, right? Like he's a very focused guy. I don't disagree in the Moscone Cup. I mean, Matchroom does a great job, and that's what they do is sell it as a product, and so I get that. But really, I'm going to think more about that. I think that because there's so many more top athletes now in pool, the way they treat it is 100% a sport. I think that's why we see a lot more like calmness in these guys. I think they're just so over focused that we're not really seeing their character as much anymore.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I wasn't talking about they should change the Moscone Cup. I said I'd like to see something in between, where instead of the real, stone cold killer look all the time, and instead of the Moscone Cup, to encourage them to somewhere in between. You know what I mean? Just where I have some pretty good ideas on how to do that, but it's just it will happen at some point.
Right.
Because it's not, I don't think the game itself, and just like other games, the game itself doesn't have the power to attract a huge loyal audience. They're more looking at their favorite player than just the game. So you got to really.
I notice you call it a game, and I'm a big advocate as I feel, because I'm around all the elite players constantly now, and I know what they do off the table. Do you think it's a game versus a sport?
Well, I just said I thought it's an art form. Okay. I mean, I inadvertently use sport, I use game. Personally, I think it's an art form.
Okay.
That's my self-expression, but it's a game. It's football's a game, baseball's a game. So it's not derogatory.
Right. I was just curious what your outlook is on that.
And also, I want to talk about. Go ahead, CJ.
Real quick, Bobby. I just want to.
No, I was just thinking. You remember the Bruce Lee movie where, like, Enter the Dragon? I think where they go to the island and there's all these different types of fighters, and it's dark and it's
the dragon. But yeah,
kind of Enter the Dragon. Okay.
Yeah.
But I like that, and I think pool is more like that, where it's instead of everything's bright and whistles and bells everywhere. I think just focusing on the table, making things darker, but then having those personalities where each player kind of, you take their best attributes and amplify it. Like Alex Pagulayan wouldn't have any trouble with that. He's one that stands out. He's funny. He's really using his own personality, but you wouldn't want another player to act like him. You would take another player and, just exaggerate his natural personality. But
the pool world right now, do you think we're lacking some of that? Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Just too bright, and everything's lit up, and man, I wouldn't want to gamble in that environment. Like the gambling matches, usually just the light on the pool table was the primary light source, and it's just, you can really lock into the game. Then it really becomes a focal point. But when everything's real bright, man, it's hard to focus on the table because the crowd's as bright as the table, really. So I think it's hard to focus for people that
I'm big on
really
that.
haven't seen pool before.
I'm big on that. I've said this over and over. I feel like when you're designing a pool room, like my old room, right? Your room, CJ's, the only thing really, and they've sent off enough light as it is, the only thing really that should be lit up is the bed of that table, right?
Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in the audience, if you got some people, have them dress nice, and you can still light up sections of the audience maybe and do a little interview or stuff like that, but go right back to the table. I mean, it's just like UFC. I think, they wouldn't light up the whole place the whole time. I mean, they've got a central focal point that's on that octagon, and in this case, the pool table.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because? Do you think that's because of the lighting, or because, like, obviously they have all the when I call people out with the lights that lighten up the whole room, trying to get the table brighter, or instead of a light going on, focus just on the table. You think it's the lighting, and it's done on purpose? Just the lighting, or what's the reason for it?
They don't know.
They just don't know. They don't know how strong what we're saying is,
Right.
and people that are in the control positions have to hear this. Like, I would tell them whether they liked it or not, I think it's true,
Agreed.
and
CJ, it's like this. If you go to a pool room throughout the country right now, you're not going to see many pool rooms now where it's just the pool tables that are lit up. But the one pool rooms that you do go to, and it's just the pool tables that are lit up, I can promise you the owner of that pool room was born in an era before CJ and me. I can promise you that, right? They're old school. They understand that how sexy it is, the mystique about it. And I was just big on that. I felt like, because what CJ's saying, it's hard to play good pool and stay super focused if the outside of the arena is lit up as well as the arena, the actual stage you're playing on, and you're on stage. So why is the rest of the stage lit up? I'm really big on it. I'm big on that. Yeah,
I agree. That's one
trouble. Like, the tournaments these days are just so much different than what I was used to. I mean, I played in a tournament not too long ago where they didn't even have seats for us. Like, I had to sit in the audience, and then 3 people tried to take my chair while I'm playing. The first one, I'll give people a pass. The second one, it's kind of irritating. The third one is like, man, I just wanted to quit and leave. And you know what I mean?
Wow.
It's just no fun. And to me, it's not about me. It's about the game. If people aren't paying attention and respecting the game that we're playing, because they weren't, they're just talking. I guess it was more like being in a league match, and I'm not used to that.
right.
Because leagues, they'll talk, and they're a lot more, and that's fine and dandy. But I never was in any leagues, so it's a lot harder. And then if I complain, people are like, then it's my fault. Like
you're a whiner. Yeah.
I've just seen it when it was better in that respect, and that's when there's more focus on the table. People were quiet, and it was out of respect. It wasn't because they're going to shark us or something. I mean, if I'm playing a lot, I can block out whatever's happening, but I just don't think I should have to, or anybody should have to, So
It's a good subject.
but anyway, You know, yeah, we could talk a long time on this. It just,
last thing I'll say on that subject, CJ, is Matchroom, like the Florida Open, the US Open. I don't know if you've been to any of their real big events, but they do understand that in that aspect. I think the Wasconi Cup's a little bit different, but most of their venues are really dark and just the tables lit up. I think it's these smaller events and pool rooms that are struggling to really kind of understand that.
yeah.
Yeah, well, like Yale Billiards, what I have here, Yale Billiards, that's one of the reasons why I did it. I have the Littman lights, and I love the Littman lights because it's exactly what you and Scott were talking about. The light is on the table. It's not on the players. It's not on the arena. It's not on the tables. The balls are bright enough where you can see it, but it still gives you the mystique, the atmosphere, and it's all that stuff that's involved in the game. I never got the lights in the ceiling. Like people say, it feels like you're in a supermarket, and that's kind of what you get with those lights.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly the supermarket feel, man. It's like my pool room had 12-foot ceilings, but really, it wasn't just the lights of the pool table, but the rest of the lights were just ambient lights. It wasn't lights, to be able to
accent
read.
Lighting. Yes.
Nobody needs to go to the pool room and read a book. And if they want to, because there are some women that go there with their boyfriends and read a book, they can have their own little light, Yeah. But yeah, the supermarket thing, I think really needs to be addressed. That's just not a good atmosphere for playing pool serious.
This is a great subject because I obviously I'm involved in pool a lot. Every time I see a tournament or a pool room and I see all those lights in the ceilings, to me I don't even know why I think about it now because I'm not all the time, but I notice that right away when you see those big lights everywhere. It's like the whole place is lit up. It's something is missing from the experience of the tournaments. I think with that.
Yeah, and like CJ said, I think they're just they don't know any better, right? And maybe this subject needs to be talked about a little bit more because I can promise you, any top player, that's one of the first things they look at when they walk in a pool room or a venue. The first thing they notice, a top player, I can speak for all of them, I promise you, is the lighting, right? Like they're looking at the lighting. Yeah.
Right.
And you're not talking about just the lighting on the table. You're talking about everywhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, if it looks like a doctor's office or a grocery store.
Want to get your milk?
Yeah, it just doesn't. It doesn't have that's not the atmosphere that's the best for any pool player that's playing professionally. I don't think so. I don't think anybody'd argue with that. Like he said, he can speak for everybody because nobody wants more light. It's almost like more cowbell.
I like it. More light on the table is not bad, though, right? The light on the table is fine. It's just the light everywhere else.
Well, to a point. I mean, you can have too much on the table too. It's. I've played with streaming video, and they have extra lights, and it really is all directed to the table. But man, it's hard on my eyes. That I wear a hat to play because of the light. It's not. I never wore a hat when I played.
True. That's not true.
Hustling.
A lot of guys.
Now, professionally, I never wore a hat. You'll never see me in a hat in any ESPN tournament, any pro tournament I ever played. But I like wearing a hat because it blocks things out. But honestly, it's the light more than anything. And to make myself look more approachable, that's what I.
Exactly what Dennis Orcola would do, though. He told me off to the side many times. He said the reason when you see me wearing this hat, they're in big trouble, and that's the reason. He would wear it in brighter rooms, and do it for a certain reason, really, to block the light out. And these lights nowadays, Bobby, and I'm not knocking them. I understand what they're using them for. The production lights, the perimeter lights, and these lights. I'll tell you, man, ever since they started coming out with those before I quit playing, I could not see. I was just blinded.
Yeah.
It was too hard on my eyes.
Great subject, guys. This is absolutely because sometimes you think I'm thinking, am I by myself with this? I talked to a couple people here and there, but there's rooms where you go to, I sit there and my eyes go right to the light. I get attracted to, I can't help but stare at the light. And then you said it's either affecting your vision or affecting the way you're playing because again, you're just staring at the light around the place instead of focusing on the game.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm lucky. My eyes are still really good. I've taken care of them. I take supplements for them and everything. The only thing that bothers me is the lights. Like if it's too bright, it'll start, I can't see the edges of the balls. They just like sharply. Like to play great pool, you got to be able to see the centers and the edges, for sure. You can use your radar and your instinct to play if you can that's really all I need to see. I don't care about the rest of the balls necessarily, but you need a reference, and the quarter ball or whatever. But I mean, you just need references. And if you can't see those references, man, your play drops down
Well,
sometimes quite a bit.
Here we go. Speaking of lights, talk about lighting. PNW pool thing. They made all these lights. Bobby makes fun of me with my lights. He makes fun of me. He still owes me. Bobby, what do you owe me for these lights?
Well, I don't know. I like your hat, CJ.
He needs a hat.
No, it's inside. Every time Scott talks about money, he says I change the subject. I don't know what he's talking about.
Oh, okay.
He's tighter than a well digger's ass. I'm joking. I'm just joking. Anyway.
Tighter than a clam with lockjaw.
Yeah, that's right. But if people do want a light like this,
yes,
our show have been with us since day number 1. And speaking of lights, I truly do love them. Go to PNW Pool Thing on Facebook. And if you want to watch some pool streams, go to PNW Pool Thing on YouTube.
That's right. And then those lights, they don't have to be just the ones in the background of Scott's. They can do all kinds of things, personalize them. So definitely go check them out. I got to talk about NM Billiards. That's right. Nick Marino Billiards. What he does is for the East Coast, he delivers pool tables, refills pool table, fixes pool table. He does tips as well. He does everything. He's nonstop, one of the hardest workers there is. Not only that, he runs Greater New Haven APA. He is the director of it. So if you want to join a team or anything to do with APA in this area, check him out. Again, it's NM Billiards and it's Greater New Haven APA. All right, CJ, let's talk a little bit about hustling and professionalism in pool. Your career growing up you did everything. You're on ESPN, you're hustling with card mechanics. Tell us the biggest difference between the pros and, I don't know, hustlers, I guess. I don't know if you call those guys pros too, but the hustlers at that point, what's the biggest difference and which one did you enjoy or embellish a little bit more when you were younger?
I mean, the money playing, I always looked at like the gamblers and the money players were more like street fighters, and the tournament players were more like boxers where they're playing rounds and there's a bell that can save them. And but when you're gambling, especially back during the 80s when I was going on the road all the time, you had to beat people into submission. I mean, I never played a gambling match that I wasn't ready. I don't want to say never, I mean, of course there's exceptions, but my main mindset was to beat them into submission, where it wasn't a physical game, but I will assure you there's been a lot of matches where afterwards people would tell me that it messed them up for a week or two, or sometimes a month or two, when you get beat really bad. But they also will say it made them better, I mean, that's another thing about losing is it either makes you tougher or makes you quit or makes you a whiner or whatever, I mean, I wasn't around the type of players that would tolerate any kind of whining, so I never did that. I don't even make excuses, I feel funny if I do. But that mindset in gambling is different than tournaments, because there again, you have to have that knockout punch. You got to be able to run a lot of racks. And especially tournaments now, when you're alternating breaks and all, it's just a lot different. You just got to play really good pool. But really, there's not the mental part going on where you're trying to beat somebody into submission. Because the match isn't going to last that long, especially. I mean,
race to 9, alternate break.
I mean, they're racing to 7 now and 9. I mean, we always raced to 11, and everybody complained that it wasn't enough. So we started going to 13, and then ended up going to 15. I think 15.
Or 5 ahead, 7 ahead, something like that too.
I played 10 ahead sets and put up 2 sets. I did that a lot of times with players. That was kind of a standard deal. Is you do a head, maybe play 7 ahead and put up 2 sets. But a lot of times they made you put up 2 sets, and then and a lot of times somebody beats you the first one, you beat them the second one. So and sometimes there would be a third set.
Right. After 20 hours, right? Or how long would a
after
race?
20 hours.
Yeah.
Man, I loved getting to that 20-hour mark. I mean, that's total automatic pilot. So, and that's another thing about the gambling. You're going to play longer, and getting into that zone is a little bit different. I think it's tougher in ways to play in tournaments because you got to be ready immediately, and you can't be a slow starter. Because when I first got on the pro tour, my first pro tournament was in Toronto, Canada, and it was the Dufferin Classic. Had 128 of the best players in the world. My first match was this guy named Efren Reyes. You guys have probably heard of him. And I got lucky and I beat him. And then I played this guy, Earl Strickland. Isn't that wild? My first real big pro tournament, I played the two best players in the world back to back. And I beat Earl, and I ended up getting fourth in the tournament. But that was when I asked myself if I thought I could continue to beat these guys consistently. The quick answer was no. I just didn't know why. And Roger Griffiths, a friend of mine, had taken a lesson from a guy that was Cliff Thorburn's coach, and told me, he said, "Man, CJ, you need to talk to this guy. He showed me a way to position my feet where I could go down and feel like I shoot out of the center of my chest." And I thought, well, that's interesting. And Roger was psyched about it. So I ended up taking a lesson from the guy. He showed me what he showed Roger, and it changed my game and changed my life and I still teach that stuff to this day, to be able to get in a position where you can shoot like it's out of the center of your chest, like shooting a pistol. Like the older school was more like shooting it like a rifle, and they would cock their heads down.
Are you talking you're talking footwork as far as a snooker stance, maybe somewhere along that line?
No, it's not a snooker stance. Now I created this. I got an invention, the Super Stance and Super Stroke Trainers, and it shows you basically it's a foot position.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But it's not a stance.
No,
it's not a snooker.
No, I understand it's not a snooker stance, but you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the feet.
Yeah.
The feet are the key.
Of course.
Because when you do it right, you can go down on the shot and your body just clears out of the way perfectly, or you can shoot more head on where you can see better.
Are you still stepping into the shot? Are you still stepping into the shot?
Well, I'm like, if this is my feet, my left foot's in front of my right toe. I just move it to the left and push my hips back and go down. So I'm not moving forward. I'm just moving that foot out, pushing my hips back and go right down.
So is there any type of a routine, like a pre-shot routine?
Well, yeah. But the positioning is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how you get to that position. That you understand what I'm saying? Let's say that you're on the 8, you make the 8, the 9's in a funny position. Do you go through the same routine to get to that position every time? Probably, right?
Yeah, unless the table's in the way, But my main thing is I'm feeling like I'm shooting out of the center of my chest, and even when I'm touching the table and going up on the table, I still get that feel, because the center of your chest is basically the center of your vision. So I use that as a reference.
Okay.
So I go into detail in my videos on my YouTube channel, and I've been teaching lately how to get more feel and touch in your hands by practicing and feeling those angles rather than just seeing them. And there's a whole process that I take people through to do that. But
where do they go, CJ, to get that stuff?
What's your website?
masteringpocketbilliards.com or cjwiley.com is my website. And I have like a pay-per-view website that's got about 16 hours of instructional stuff. And there's not much fluff. I think you can tell it takes a lot of focus to teach these high-level pool techniques. And, you've been teaching a lot, Scott, right?
Yeah, because I never thought I'd be a teacher. The only reason I'm teaching is because when I started commentating at a high level and covering these guys all over the planet, I just started noticing that even though some were quicker around the table than others, they were all doing exactly the same thing. And what I mean by that is talking about their cue action, right?
Yeah.
One looked quicker than the other. It's incredible. And I just want to get the message out. Really, I think it's important because we look at American players, and you cannot tell me two American players that look the same. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong with that, but it's not a great thing, right? There's not a lot of consistency there. And then, you really don't have to look very far to identify anybody from overseas, right? You can tell, oh, that guy's got to be from Europe because they're structured a little bit differently. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's pretty amazing what the elites do.
Well, the results tell you what it's right or wrong. Kind of, if you look at the results, the Europeans and over there, they just seem like they have it above the Americans. Whether it's this
talent will still take you a long way, right? Like my
Yep.
fundamentals were as bad as anybody's coming up because I thought Efren had the proper fundamentals, and obviously whatever worked for Efren worked, right? There was no book back then, and I don't think there's a book now. But when you're talking about cue action, when you're talking about finishing, right? When you're talking about the final takeaway and the delivery, I can promise you there's something there that's vital. And Efren had that too, but my fundamentals were terrible. And, Jerry Bryseth, who in his day, I think was probably the best coach in America. He when I quit for 4 years, I said, well, Jerry, how did I get away with winning all the money I won and every major I ever wanted to win, except the all around at the Derby? He said, well, your talent overrode your fundamentals. You were playing so much that your talent overrode it. But once I took 4 years off, I realized real quick that I couldn't get back to where I was unless I changed some things major. And I just happened to start commentating at that time. And then I started studying these elite players and how ironic they all are. If you couldn't see the player and just the cue action, you take the top 100 players in the world. It's absolutely mind-boggling what you're looking at.
All right, you talked a little bit about the hustling world. What about the professional world on the ESPN days? What do you take from all those things? And, it was a learning lesson for all the pool players because we had seen the pool players almost go up and down at ESPN, right? We had our ups and our downs. Let's talk about that in your time in your career for a little bit.
And before you talk, hold on real quick. I want to say this. I grew up around CJ. I grew up watching play. I spent time at his house. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to butt in, but for people that don't know, CJ was also similar to me, but he wasn't in the era where you didn't get to see him really in his prime. And I'm going to tell you, this guy, he's a quicker paced player, but he was a gunslinger, man. He could really, 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 really play at the highest level, right? If you take CJ's prime, right, the win in his prime, and you throw him in the mix with these guys now, at least outside of the main ring, he could play with all of them in his dead prime in that zone. So I just want to say for the record, I mean, he was a hell of a player. Yeah.
We weren't on video as much. I think what brought, I got a match with Steve Miserak. That was my first tournament in the United States after that Toronto tournament. And Steve Miserak was kind of like, I kind of idolized him growing up. He did the Miller Lite commercials, just showing off, and he was just a cool guy, and
right.
And I found myself in my second tournament. I had wins over Johnny Archer, Nick Varner, and then played Steve Miserak, and ended up winning 11-10. And I ran the last rack in like a minute. Buddy Hall and in Cardona were doing the commentary, and they were, they couldn't believe how fast I played. But those were the days. But so what did you want me to cover?
Talk about your careers as a professional, and then also we got Moscone Cup. Talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the TV stuff is what I ended up really, once I got a taste of that, that's really what I wanted to do as much as possible. And it's funny, my first ESPN tournament was in California against Earl Strickland, but it's kind of interesting how I got there. Because I played Francisco Bustamante in Chicago at a big tournament. And that was the first time he'd come over. And, I saw that stroke and everything. I was like, oh, my God. In my mind, I think a little opposite than people. I was like, uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
This guy looks crazy, man. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that, a lot of, there's every top player was there. I ran like 8 racks in a row on him, which in my gambling time would generally get somebody weak. But Bustamante got up and ran 9 right back on me. See, I've never really had that happen. And so he ends up beating me. I lost about 14,000. And I remember driving back to Dallas. And I mean, I know that I need to start training more. Like I got a little bit lazy and I hadn't been really training. And, but that got me there. So I went back to Dallas and, you could hear the Rocky music. I mean, I was training not only on the table, but martial arts and different things. And I've always been big on hand strength. I do a lot of things to make sure I got a lot of power in my stroke. So I ended up going out to California, the Burbank Hilton. Jay Helford put this tournament on. Great tournament. There was a lot of enthusiasm in that LA area about pool back then. And we had a situation where I had to beat Bustamante to play Earl the next day on ESPN. So I asked Jay to verify this. There was like about 700 people watching. So they're hanging off the rafters, and I'm playing Bustamante, man. And that's what I've been training for, to beat him. Like, I know if I beat him, I could beat anybody, I thought. So I ended up going 12-12, going to 13. I ran the last rack and won that match. Played Earl the next day and played really well. Earl beat me Hill. Then Earl beat Johnny Archer Hill to win the tournament. So those last 3 matches were all separated by 1 game. That's how close we were. And, just the luck of usually the break might make a little bit of a difference in key spots, but that was my first ESPN experience and I liked it and I played good. I didn't watch that match for a couple years, but I actually, I played really well. Like I didn't show any nervousness or anything. And that was my first experience that ended up being one of, I played 23 matches on ESPN and I've won 20 of them.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was in the finals of ESPN's biggest tournament 3 years in a row. I won it in 96. I was second in 97, second in 98, and 5th in 99. And that's the last year I played and then didn't play again for about 7 years. Efren beat me in the 99 one.
Okay.
So I had a lot of exposure.
Yeah, and due to your pace of play, one thing I remember about those events, I was staying as far from ESPN as I ever could back then, making a lot of money on the side. But I think to help your style, one thing that really stuck out to me is the pockets were much more forgiving back then in those events. They wanted guys to make balls, right? And that's
on ESPN, yeah.
Yeah, and that's I just think like Shane is also a quick pace player. You were probably one of the. I'm trying to think of somebody that played at that level that played it as quick as you did, and I don't know that there was one. I don't. I mean,
Earl played. Earl,
yeah, you were quick.
Took his time more on certain shots, but it was same type pace, I think.
I think you still had him by a tick. Yeah.
Yeah, I could have beat him with a 10-second shot clock, probably.
Yeah. No, for real.
And they were more forgiving. I mean, I prefer tight pockets myself. Like
Sure.
I would prefer worn cloth and tight pockets. Buddy Hall told me a long time ago, he said, it doesn't matter as long as you hit the center of the pocket. So I kind of go by that philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it wasn't discredit to you by any means, but I don't think that hurts the aggressive styles. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the new cloth makes a big difference. Like they've got 4-inch pockets now, but they're pretty forgiving.
First couple days at least, right? The first week where they're just getting fresh cloth and sliding in there.
I'm training on.
Yeah, by the finals it should be tighter, but the cloth itself now is different than it was back when I was playing. I think it stays fast and a little slicker longer. I don't know why. I don't know much about cloth, but I'm sure they got it down to a science. They Simonis or whoever. Who do you guys use? What? I don't know.
Simonis.
I don't really know much about that.
Simonis is the best product. I mean, they're just.
I agree.
No question.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were promoting, the Pro Tour was promoting Simonis, and they were our sponsors, Simonis and the APA and Diamond Tables.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when the Pro Tour broke up back then, we lost about $200,000 worth of sponsorship that all of a sudden didn't have to put their money in a Pro Tour, and they just started doing their own events, and it became a little less organized. But it broke up, because we were playing tournaments back then, 50,000 added. We had like 3 or 4 of those a year, and the rest were 25,000 added. So when you compare that to now, and that was 35 years ago. So
yeah, same money on a lot of tournaments, couple 50, 25,000s. Is that when you took?
I won 88,000 the week that I won. I won the ESPN singles world championships, and I won the doubles with Lori John, and then I won the Battle of the Sexes against Vivian Villarreal. And at that time, that was live, and they said 2.8 million people watched that match. So that was a pretty big deal. Jerry Morgenstern, I think that was his name, from ESPN, he told me over 10,000 people watched that match worldwide. Not at the same time, but including the when they re-aired it. So there was a lot of attention on pool in the early to mid 90s, and I couldn't walk through an airport without several people recognizing me. So
yeah, TV's a whole different ball game, because you talk about numbers. Now with social media, obviously you can reach. I think we had upwards of 19 million viewers at the Philippines Open, but like Matchroom, I'm just saying, and now we're not talking about TV, although they do work with Sky Sports for some of their majors. 300, I was giving Bobby these numbers, and these are hard analytics. 330 plus million views since they started their YouTube channel. At 330 million views. But my point there is to where people, you couldn't walk through an airport without people recognizing you. Back then, all you could watch is TV, right? And now social media is such a broad, you can watch anything. You might not ever see CJ playing in his prime on social media right now. You might not see Federer Gorst. So it's a little different. I think that's TV was a great thing back then. The Camel Tour, a lot of different things were going on that were good things at the time. You started your own tour.
Yeah. The Professional Q Sports Association.
Yeah,
because the other tour was doing RJ Reynolds, Camel Cigarettes was sponsoring them, and that. See, you could not play on TV if you had a tobacco sponsor. So that was really the reason that a group of us went the other direction, because we had ESPN.
Yeah.
And we played, because I couldn't see the sport game, self-expression, art form, but I couldn't see it really getting to the level I wanted unless it was on ESPN. I mean, if you weren't on ESPN, you weren't really verified as being a serious game or sport.
I think a lot of people still talk about that right now. I know people at my pool hall are always like, yeah, we got to get back on ESPN. We got to get back on ESPN. Yeah. Even though we have millions of viewers everywhere on all of our pages, it's still not the same as getting on, I guess, ESPN or a Prime network, right?
What people don't know is there's political reasons why that'll probably never really happen again. Unfortunately, at least not in our lifetime, unfortunately. So hopefully,
but I mean, anybody, you can do TV deals and get it on TV. It's just a matter of, but you do have to pay for it. So that's another thing is,
right.
The entertainment value has to be higher. Like I've been giving this a lot of thought, because I got a partner in Louisiana, and we're looking at doing, we've got a movie opportunity, and I wrote a book that came out about. I'm going to do 3 of them, actually. One's going to be instructional. This one was more about my road player days. So it was pretty much till I was age 23. But, we got to, I want to do a movie. I really want to. Mike Massey called me the other day, and he's got a movie that I guess he's going to do, which I'm happy for him. He told me there was a major part that I might want to take. So. It was funny because Mike was like, "Can you act?" I was like, Mike, I was a poor
For a living,
for
right?
most of my life. What are you talking about? Can I act? I mean, I had to, you know? And those were a deal where they didn't just say cut. It was a deal where if you got caught, you might get beat up or something, you know?
You're in the back alley for sure.
But I would like to see it back on ESPN. But it's like, I mean, back then it was 60,000 for an hour. And, you know, if you're going to do something like that, you really have to have some sponsors and you have to have a game plan, but you also have, the game has to have the most entertainment, excitement, and strategic value as possible. So that I don't think is happening right now. But again, I've got some good ideas on how to bring more of those components into the game so you can put it on TV. I don't think anybody'd really put up that kind of money to do it. I just
Right now,
I'll tell you, Matchroom's spending a lot more than that per hour with their Sky Sports productions. I mean, they've got 160 people, 80 on the front of the house in production and 80 in the back. Like I mean, Sky Sports is equivalent to ESPN over there in Europe, really. I mean, really.
Yeah.
Well,
that's just the airtime, though. That's not the production.
Oh, I understand.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
generally what I did several TV events on my own, and I would do a deal with them where they supplied the airtime and I paid for the production costs. And then they gave me half of the commercial inventory. And that way I could break even on it. Like those big tournaments I did at my pool room, like where Earl ran the 11 racks in a row. That was an interesting thing. But that's the deal I did.
Would you talk about that? You and I've talked about it. You
Yeah.
told me that story. Could you talk about that story a little bit?
Yeah, I can now. I couldn't back then because I was under a confidentiality agreement.
And I appreciate your honesty, and I think it's a good story to hear from you, and I actually think it's important. So CJ is going to talk a little bit. Earl ran 11 racks at CJ's room for $1 million, quote unquote, and it was
absolutely.
So I had this professional Q Sports Association. I started it with Earl Strickland and George Breedlove, so we were the main ones. You know, my pool room was doing real well, so I had enough money to finance this deal. I did, you know, I had $100,000 that I budgeted to do the tour with. I didn't realize the first tournament was going to take half of that or a little bit more. Yeah. And I won the tournament.
Oh, shit.
But so I got with an advertising agency, marketing agency, and we put together this idea of having this $1 million challenge. So if somebody ran 8 racks in a row, they get 50,000, 9 racks in a row, they would get 100,000. And if they ran 10 racks in a row, they get $1 million. And that's an annuity. That's 50,000 a year for 20 years. That's something that a lot of pool players didn't understand. If you're going to take a lump sum, like in a lottery, it's $1 million. You
for
don't
less
get
than
the
half.
whole $1 million.
Yeah.
Now you got, at that time, it was 63%. You get 630,000. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
So, and that's what he ended up getting, but he had to pay some legal fees. The lawyers that I got, the ending legal fees were about $300,000. But we were up against the Lloyds of London, and they had 17 attorneys on the closing day. So they paper whipped us.
But what ended up
happening? I hadn't had those attorneys.
Okay, they thought it was, but the company supporting this thought it was kind of a scam because it happened the first time. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was the first day, and right. Some of the papers hadn't been signed. Because I remember the marketing lady, I talked to her that day. It's like almost 5 o'clock. And she's like, you need to sign the rest of these papers. But the thing about it in Texas, you don't have to sign. Once you got the deal, you got the deal. So like if you bought a Lamborghini and called up to your insurance and said, I got this Lamborghini, gave them the details, you don't have to sign anything. A verbal agreement in Texas is good. And that's how we ended up winning, because we joked about it, because it was like rush hour and I'm doing all this stuff to get ready for the tournament. And, you know, my brain is spinning. And I said, man, is it okay? Let's just do it tomorrow. And she said, yeah, it's not like somebody's going to do it on the first day. I will never forget her saying that. because that's the odds were 7.8 million to 1. And that was a statistician from SMU, professor, came up with that number because when they insure things like that, they do a lot of investigation on that.
They do.
And it had never been done before. Nobody ever run 10 racks in a row in a professional tournament.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So the only time that it's been done was that day, really. So I remember we had to videotape the last 5 games. So he gets to like 4, and somebody comes in the office. I was in the office with my wife at that time, and they're like, "Man, Earl's on 4." And then they come out and go, "Earl's on 5. Get the video camera." So I'm like, "Oh shit!" So I get the video camera and give it to my wife and go out there. And so she videotaped it. And the first one, Jay Helford was the tournament director. He was supposed to start racking the balls. By the way, that was the first pro tournament they ever racked their own balls.
Oh, really?
Which I don't really like that. And I had to come to terms with, I think I was the one that started it. But it was Earl's idea more than mine. But anyway, Earl was supposed to let Jay rack on the 6th game. He wouldn't let him and pushed him back and racked the balls and ran that rack. Well, Jay came up and said, "Earl, if you don't let me rack, this isn't going to count." So Earl was he was in a zone like I've never seen before. He was like determined. So he let Jay rack, and he runs those 4 racks and ends up making a combination on the 10th rack. But here's the deal that nobody knew. He didn't let him rack the first game. So he had to run another rack to actually win the $1 million, come to find out.
That's why you said it was 11 racks?
Right.
Yeah, because you could ask anybody that was there. When he made that combination, the whole place went like he jumped up in the air, came down, broke his stick. He hugged John McChesney, who I don't think he even liked that well. And the crowd literally went wild. After that was over, Earl gets up and runs another rack. Now, if he hadn't have done that, we still would have won, but it would have been 100,000. It wouldn't have been $1 million. So think about the odds of that.
Right.
He didn't just run 10. He ran the 11th one to actually win the $1 million. It's so freaky, man. I can't even. It was like the greatest thing that ever happened and the worst thing at the same time. With
For
me.
you.
Yeah.
You, absolutely.
Yeah, because they challenged it. They sued us. Luckily, I had some real strong attorneys that took it on contingency. I paid Earl the first $50,000. Now, that wasn't a wink deal. That was really $50,000. I paid him that to create damages with me, damages with him, and we did a joint lawsuit and sued him at the same time. And then I got it done on contingency. I put another $80,000 in before it was over. So I had $130,000 in that lawsuit, which I got back when we won it. But I only got my money back, which is fine. That's all I wanted. But man, when you really look back and look at what happened there, it's like it was impossible. It really was impossible.
I'll never forget where I was that day. I was gambling with a guy in Alabama, and when that happened, I'll never forget it because I was supposed to be there, and I was disappointed I wasn't there. It's just
incredible.
It is incredible. And I remember, I don't know where you and I were. It was years ago, and you were telling me this story, and it was just you and I. I'm like, God damn, I couldn't imagine being in your shoes. Listen, and you're friends with these guys, and you want them to do it, but like under the circumstances, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, am I going to get stuck for this? That's big.
I couldn't imagine your emotions that day.
I can imagine.
When I interviewed Earl, he never had told me, I didn't even want to hear it really, about how hard he trained and how he every day he was figuring out ways to run more racks.
Oh.
And he got where he knew he could run 5. But I mean, he wiped down the balls every time, and he knew what he was doing. And
yeah, but still, like you say, the odds of, listen, I broke and run 12 on a bar table in a tournament, right? And I've broken run 7 or 8 on a 9-footer. To do that in a tournament setting it's literally like, well, it hasn't happened. Has anybody broken run 10 racks in a tournament?
I don't know. I heard Danny Medina did years ago, maybe, but I don't think so. And it'd be really hard. I mean, we were playing races for 15. Now he did it out of the gate, I'm pretty sure. But if you're just playing a race to 10 or 11, I don't know. I can't see it ever happening.
Unbelievable. The first day,
balls,
we had him on the show when we talked about that, and he said that he was trying to take time to clean the balls. He said that there was a weather front coming through at the perfect time to make the table play great. Yeah. He literally was laying it on thick. He was telling us why it happened, and unbelievable, just crazy story, unbelievable.
Hey, listen. When Lisa, his wife at the time, when they're driving to the tournament, Earl was talking about it, and Lisa said, he looked at her, he says, I'm going to do this. I'm going to win this $1 million. And she said his eyes were all wild, and like he went there on a mission.
He was serious.
He believed it. He believed it.
He manifested that.
I was like, Earl, why couldn't you have tried that hard the second tournament? See, if it would have been the second tournament, everything would have been signed and everything's fine, and they've already seen it where nobody did it. And when you do something like that on the first time, they're going to question it no matter what you're doing.
Right.
Like they question all those half-court basketball shots to see if you made any money in the past, and they
try to get away without paying. They always do.
If you've played a 3-on-3 like 3 years earlier and got $50, they'll disqualify you from that $1 million. Like because you can't make any money. They consider you a pro if you've made any money at basketball. Those guys, because it's the same people that insured mine. It's the same people that do it.
So they ended up what did they end up playing? The lump sum, the 600.
So he got 630,000, CJ.
Well, CJ got 130 back, right?
No, I got 130 back. That's how much I had in it. I think he ended up with 450 or 460 after he paid his attorneys.
Okay.
So 460,000 for one match. That's pretty good.
That ain't bad.
But the 630 was what? Yeah, that was what that $1 million annuity was worth.
Right.
Because I couldn't talk. Another thing that was brutal is I couldn't talk about it I was under a confidentiality agreement. And all these pool, how the pool players are, they were saying it was a con and I ripped it off and there was no insurance, this and that. And I couldn't, that made me a little bitter, man, because, when people are, talking shit about you and you can't defend yourself.
Yeah.
So.
I get it.
But anyway.
You did well, though, man. You really did do well. You
it came through.
In confidentiality, but I told people when those rumors were going around, I still remember having conversations. I said, listen, you better think before you speak because nobody really knows what's going on. And you're in a position where you can't talk about it. And I don't know if a lot of pool players really understand what contracts are, right? I'm involved in some pretty in-depth contracts as we speak. Bobby knows this. And they're no joke, right? Like you can't – a contract is in place for a reason. So
yeah.
You did well. You did well with it.
Right. Speaking of contracts, I got to give my guy Elvis a shout out. We got a contract with us, the Boom and Freezer Show. Got this beautiful thing behind us. He does shirts. He does everything. If you're interested, check out Elvis at In the Box. He does great things. APA team shirts, shirts of your favorite player. Check him out. He does a great job. Appreciate you, Elvis.
Yeah, and in that, QArmor.com. They're not here to stay. They're taking over, right? QArmor.com. Check them out. That's this logo here. But Jason Shaw, Chris Melling, Earl Strickland, Carl Boys, Rodney Morris, they're all wearing the stuff, and it's top quality stuff. So check them out, QArmor.com. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, as well, please. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Let's talk about CJ real quick. Your best hustling story. I know you talked a little bit about this in the past. I know I heard about it. hustler, call it a money story? What do we got going on with that? You're out there hustling, making moves. What's your biggest, best story you can tell us?
Yeah, I mean, you've heard that the one about the color of money. Let me think of a different
We want to hear it.
Yeah, we want to hear
You
it.
want to hear that one?
Of
Yeah.
course
Is
we
that the
do.
one you want? Okay. I was on the Discovery Channel. You were on there too, Scott. You did. They got both of us, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was on. When they put the gun in my head.
Huh?
They put the gun in my
yeah.
head, it jammed. They pulled the trigger, it jammed. I'm here for a reason.
Yeah, that's
So
amazing.
he's
We
on there about
we
hustling
talked
money,
about
and you're
this.
out there about struggling, huh? That was both the
Yeah,
same.
maybe we'll talk about this. I'll tell the story, and because that was a good, talking about when that happened to us, what it did to us.
Yeah.
I think we related on that, where, one of the most destructive things, but it also, keeps us alive is fear,
Yeah.
And I mean, it's really a healthy thing because, I've always,
Well, same thing happened to me in Detroit. I should have been killed there as well. Same pretty much thing. But I'm going to let you run on that. Go ahead, because you're right.
Okay.
Right.
So 1986 is when The Color of Money came out, and I was lucky enough that I just won the World Series of Tavern Pool in '86 when I was 21 years old. So I was probably top 10 in the country, and nobody knew it. Like, I was real undercover. And then after I won that World Series of Tavern Pool, I was only on the cover of one paper. It was the Billiard News, which is like a newspaper. So people couldn't really see my face well enough to hurt me too bad. But I was with this guy from Kentucky, and we were over in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. And we get the line on this guy that'll lose a lot of money. He owns a bar. He's got bar tables down below, but he's got an upstairs room that's got a 9-foot gold crown. And he loves to gamble. So my friend and I go in there. We sit at the bar, and we said, "Hey, is there any action around here? We like to gamble playing pool." And the guy kind of looks a little nervous. He says, "I need to see some identification." And we're like, "Why?" He says, "Listen, I've had some problems with the law." He said, "I just want to make sure you're not the police." So I showed him my license that said I was Mike Pulse from Marion, Indiana. That's the one I used. My friend gives him his ID. He looks at him. He goes, "Okay, good, guys." He says, "I just wanted to make sure. I've got some heat on me." He says, "Because I do love to gamble." He says, "As a matter of fact," he says, "I'm just like in The Color of Money." He said, "You saw that movie, didn't you?" And we're like, "Yeah, we saw The Color of Money. That's great. Tom Cruise and Paul Newman comes back. That was great." He goes, "Yeah, I'm just like that." He says, "I love to gamble. I love to bet on other players. I just love action." He says, "As a matter of fact," he says, "upstairs, I got a table just like in The Color of Money." He said, "You saw the movie. You saw the table in The Color of Money." I said, "Yeah, we saw it. Yeah." So we go down to the end of the bar, and he opens up this door, and there's stairs that go pretty steep up. He comes up. He says, "Come on, follow me." He's looking over his shoulder. I still remember this. I'm looking up at him going up these stairs. He's looking, going, "Man, I swear this is just like Color of Money." He's like a kid in a candy store, man. He just, yeah. And so we get up there, and I go around the corner. Sure enough, he's got this gold crown table, man. He's got it all polished, and, it's just perfect. So he says, "Come on, man, I don't play very good." He said, "I'll play you a race to 7 for 100. I said, "Okay." Well, I didn't say it, but I had fake glasses on at the time. And I had these regular glasses that didn't have, just plain lens. It didn't have any magnification or anything. So I'm wearing those glasses. So I get up there and I play him for $100 and I beat him. Play him for another $100 and beat him. This guy can't run 3 balls in a row no matter where they're at. He just loves to play. So I beat him a couple sets. He calls down and gets one of his cooks to come up and play me. I beat him, and then he gets a bartender to come up and a couple of locals to come. I played like 7 guys in a row, and ended up, I'm a pretty good winner, maybe a couple thousand. And now in comes one of the best players in Pittsburgh, and I know who he is, but he doesn't know who I am. So they said, "Hey, this guy over here will play you, and he'll play you for a lot more money, but it's got to be downstairs on the bar table." So I act like I talked to my friend and everything. Said, "Yeah, we'll play him down there." So we go downstairs, and right in front of the guy, I take my glasses off, give them to my friend. I said, listen, these glasses are kind of hurting my nose. Can you give me my contact lenses?
Yeah.
So we already had it prearranged. So he takes out it's an empty contact lens case. He gives it to me. I go in the bathroom. I just wash my face off and like rub my eyes, go back out, and I give him the glasses and the contact lens case. He takes them outside and gets rid of them. Now I get up there and we're betting on the side and we're betting pretty high. I end up winning about a little over 6,000. So I was like 8,000 winner for the night. So, and I unleashed on this poor guy, on the bar. I had to.
Your stroke all the
I
same
ran
better, right?
Yeah. And I ran like 5 or 6 racks on him, and we're betting like real high on the side and basically just busted up the game. So now I put my stick away and everything, go up there, and the owner's up there, and he's got this kind of a strange look on his face. He looks at me and he says, you know something, kid? He said, you played a lot better there at the end than you did at the beginning. And I looked at him, I said, well, you saw the movie, didn't you?
That's so good.
His forehead turned red. And I looked at my friend and I said, I think we need to get out of here. And we made a getaway, because it looked a little shaky. He knew he'd been hustled.
Yep.
Yeah, but
he met the real Tom Cruise.
Yeah, he did.
Was he really heated, or was he all right? He was all right, right? He was all right. He wasn't really,
but he was,
chapped. He was a little chapped.
8,000 deep. He was probably a little pissed. I'm sure it was all his. You know what I mean?
We had to get out of there. Because I think more than anything, he was probably embarrassed, and it was in front of all these people, and I had just, I had kind of made a fool out of him.
He was acting like he was robbing you. He was acting like he was robbing you in the beginning. You've seen The Color of Money, haven't you?
Yeah, because I'm sure, because when we went downstairs for me to play that other guy, I'm sure he told everybody why they bet on the side. Said, listen, this kid doesn't have a chance against him, Right. But when I took those, I was like Clark Kent, man. I took those glasses off and pulled open my shirt, and there's a big F. But it wasn't Superman. It was just like Super Stroke. But anyway, that was fun, and that's one of my my favorite stories, because
great story.
It came out. That Color of Money came out perfectly for me, because the next like 5 to 7 years, man, people were spinning their sticks when the yuppies were playing, and like the pretty people were actually playing pool.
Yeah.
Like Earl said, pool's a great game, played by ugly people or something. But back then, during that period, man, it was totally different. That's when Julian's and Fox and Hound and a lot of those upscale pool rooms came and were doing really well. Because they had that yuppie crowd. And if somebody could have kept that momentum, we'd have a whole different game now. Because that's when it was important.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think the hustling part of it is what people love. I mean, people can say we got to clean. I heard that a lot when I was back, had my own tour and everything. People, especially the women, were wanting to clean up the game, and maybe it's okay for them. But pool really doesn't need to be a squeaky clean game. Like I said, if it's too lit up and it's too sterile, that's not what people like. I'd say 90% of the time that people ask me about an experience, it's always gambling or hustling. It's never tournaments. I've never been asked, what was it like to win the ESPN tournament or the $1 Million Challenge tournament? Nobody's ever asked me that ever.
Yeah.
But they've asked me a lot about the stuff like I put online, the adventures on the road. I mean, I got probably 150 stories on there, and I know I can do another 50. But I lived on the road for 7 straight years. I mean, I played thousands of matches. So
thousands with different amounts, different angles, different everything. Like you said, different table conditions. Speaking about tables, let's talk about the Gold Crown. One of our sponsors here, of course, Brunswick. When you played on the Gold Crown, did you like playing on the Brunswicks?
Yeah, they're my favorite. And I just made a comment on Mark Gregory saying about I can't wait to play on one of those Gold Crown 7s. I think they're bringing them to Bristol to Janet's place, Borderline.
Well,
I believe so.
I think I heard that. I haven't, but I think they're bringing them in, and I hear they're great. You know, Mark Gregory's a good friend of mine, and man, he's a genius when it comes to table mechanic stuff. I mean, I'm a real big fan of Mark, and Mark played real good too, man. One of my road players, Doug Smith, played him in Chicago. They must have played 10 or 12 straight hours bank pool, which Doug played great bank pool, but I think he got beat. I think Mark beat him. I mean, he's probably a lot better player than what people think, you know?
Yeah, we were friends 30 years ago. His fingerprints are all over the Gold Crown 7. Well, he designed it from the inside out.
Yeah.
Mark Gregory, and he's also involved in doing the tables, making the tables right for Hilltop. But the Brunswick Gold Crown, or it is the Gold Crown 7. Listen, Justin.
I'll tell you a Mark Gregory story. This is, and I'm gonna tell you a little. It's a little bit of a brag, but we were talking about tight pockets and how well we used to play. I was in Mobile, Alabama, right? And this guy comes up to me, and he's from Atlanta, and we're talking about some stuff. And he said, "You remember that table, Jaws? Did you ever play there? That might have been before your time."
In Atlanta?
You did.
In Atlanta?
Yeah.
I played.
You remember that first table? Okay.
Anywhere there was money, I was there. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the age thing. Like you know.
Yeah. I didn't.
But anyway,
I played.
So you remember how tight that table was? Super tight table.
I got a bad story.
So that guy says, I saw you play the Ghost one night on that table. He said you ran 28 racks in a row. I'm like, oh man, come on now. I mean, you know, you hear some wild stuff. I was like, that's not possible. He goes, no, I was there. I saw it. And I said, I wanted to argue with him, but I knew better, so I just kind of let it go. I said, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I said, you know, I wish I could do that every time. And didn't think much of it. So I'm up in Atlanta. I'm staying with Mark Gregory. We're out on his outside on his little balcony thing, drinking a beer and bullshitting. And I told Mark, it came up about that table, Jaws. And I said, Mark, it's funny. I said, a guy down in Mobile, Alabama that's from Atlanta told me he saw me run playing the Ghost 28 racks in a row. And I'm talking to Mark like this, and Mark immediately does this. And I'm like, what's wrong? He said, I don't know how many it was. I said, wait. You were there? He goes, yeah. Johnny Archer and I was there. You're shitting me. He said, no, we watched it, but we weren't counting how many racks. But I'll tell you this, it was over an hour. You ran every rack. So I started doing the math. I'm like, man, that's actually...
That one of those blackout times you were talking about earlier? You're just in the zone?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me ask a couple of pool player questions, because I know that table like the back of my hand.
Yeah,
you got ball in hand after the break, right? You break with ball in hand, playing 9-ball?
Yeah.
And you broke and ran racks for an hour or more straight?
Yeah.
That's
what Mark said.
I'm not.
Him.
I don't. No.
And I don't remember. He remembers better than I do.
Mark's a good friend of mine, and Mark doesn't tip. If you know Mark, Mark's not one to really bullshit. He doesn't bullshit.
No.
I'll tell you that table with ball in hand, if you put a ball on the first diamond nearest the pocket, I know this because I actually put it up and won some money on this, and you take ball in hand and you have to draw the cue ball past the side pocket, that ball's not going in. It's not going in, period.
Yeah.
So any ball on the rail, you couldn't make it if you weren't rolling it at a very soft speed. I'm not saying or didn't do it. I wasn't there, but that's amazing. That's amazing.
See, there is one thing that I had going for me on those super tight tables is I call it the touch of inside. I'm basically, just like you hold a bank, I'm doing that on a mini version to where it does make the pockets bigger. Now, I know the shot you're talking about because I've shot that. There's been a few tables I've played on where you put it close to the rail and you can't draw it back to the end rail.
Yeah, this one would be full. Exactly. Yeah. And just
ask Mark about that.
No, I will. I do want to mention, though, you said and I did make the finals, yes, open bank pool 2 years in a row, and I did win it and won a lot of bank stuff. John Brumback always taught this, and this is, I'm going off subject because we love talking about pool. A lot of people think English is what will shorten a bank up. More often than English is it's a heavy ball hit or a center ball hit with the softer speed. As long as you just hit it hard enough, it's a stun speed. Just actually slower you hit it, the more it can shorten up. And I can actually prove that. John showed Feder Gorsh. Feder actually put a video up on it. But banking the ball with inside will hold the ball up. I don't know why I'm switching the subject, but that table was in Conyers, Georgia. And
yeah, Conyers. That's where what's his name?
John.
Man, I just saw it.
John Hager spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, and who's a real good one pocket player? Man, I just saw him.
Oh, our age or who?
Danny Smith. Danny Smith was there.
Okay. Yeah.
He plays real good on tight tables like
that. Yes, he does.
Like, yeah. I think he and I probably played similar as far as that goes on those tight tables, from what I've heard.
You did. Yeah. I had the tight table just under 4 inches here for a long time that I played on as well. Then Danny came and tried to play that. But that table, I wonder, is that table still there?
I don't think so. That pool room's not there, is it?
I don't know, but I mean, I'd heard not recently, in the last few years, that it might still be there, but I don't know.
It probably is somewhere.
Yeah.
Like where are the pockets?
Ask Mark about that. Like I said, I didn't believe it either. I didn't believe it. I wouldn't expect anybody to believe it. But we're talking about Mark Gregory, and that just came up in some other situations recently.
Yeah.
But I just think it was funny that I actually had a verification on that, because I didn't believe that guy at all about the 28 racks. But I believe Mark about the over an hour, because I would go in those.
Were you gambling with that, or were you just practicing?
No, I can't remember. I was just playing the ghost. I remember being there, but it's one of those deals where it's like I was there, but it was like a dream.
Yeah.
But I was playing at a level that was just freaky, you know. I mean, you go through times like that. I wouldn't play that good the next day, probably, but
sure.
But everything was just right. But the way I hit the ball with that touch of inside, it does make a difference on tight tables. Efren does it too. The Filipinos do it. I asked Dennis Orcolo if he cued it to the inside or the outside. Because first I asked him about, he doesn't use the center. He favors one side or the other.
Most
and he
players
gave me the best. Yeah, everybody's going to at the top level, I think. But here's what Dennis told me, and it's interesting because it made a total sense. Dennis told me when he's playing on big pockets with faster cloth, like newer cloth, he uses outside as much as he can. But when he's playing on worn cloth with tight pockets, he cues it to the inside as much as he can. And that makes total sense to me. Because, if you do that, I know you do that because I can tell by watching, but I don't know how conscious the player is of it. A lot of the older time players did it, and they really didn't know they were doing it. It was more the after contact reaction. It looks like it's on a string or it's floating. The way it was described to me by Omaha John was you need to try to make the ball look like it's floating from position to position. And people would say, man, it looks like you got the ball on a string. And that's the reaction that it has. Right, Scott? If I see somebody like back in the day, if I was getting ready to gamble with somebody, I didn't know who they were and they're warming up. If they're doing that, I prepare myself for a long match and I have to put a lot of pressure on them. But if they're not doing that, it's not going to be that long.
No, I agree. I was always to the center inside of the ball on real tight equipment when it was a little bit warm, but I didn't think about why. But you could really move the cue ball a little bit better, and I think you could play the object ball cleaner. What's interesting nowadays with these elite players is they're still playing on 4-inch pockets, but 90% of them, probably 95% of them, including Federer, including Filler, they're going to the outside of the ball.
Yeah.
I think that's because of the newer cloth, right? I'm pretty sure that they
It's
would.
the cloth.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because those pockets are forgiving with outside English. See, the ones that are tight, like that Jaws table, if you play with outside English,
You're
you're not
dead.
gonna do any good.
You're dead.
Yeah. So, I prefer that type of, but that was the gambling conditions. They always had tight tables.
Yeah.
They usually rolled off a little bit.
They were
I like tables that roll off. I like gaffy tables that roll off.
Same.
Because I hit through the break, I hit everything a little harder than most people. And that's from playing on the road all the time, because I could get used to a table and play good on any table really quick. And I'm usually playing somebody that, that's their home table. They played 20 or 30 years on it. They know it like the back of their hand.
Yeah.
Did you ever play Gary Spaeth?
I knew them. They were real close with John Brumback. I knew them, and they were getting sick right as I was coming on. I'd met them, never played them.
See, that's where the age, like I don't know.
How old are you?
You had to 61.
Okay. I for some reason I feel like we're the same era because of some things, because we went through the same.
I'm one before you. What?
Yeah.
You're probably
50. I'm 50.
50. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think when I met you, you were 18 and I was 29, or you were 17, I was 28, something like that.
Yeah, like the first couple of years I played. Yeah.
I think I met you in Vegas at the Riviera when Roger Griffiths and I went to that Chinese restaurant with you. That's my first memory of seeing you. And Roger's the one that said,
99.
and Roger didn't bullshit me at all. Roger's like, this kid's going to be a champion. So we went into that with me, like I believe that. Like I caught on to you. I mean, I took to you real quick because I could tell you had that mentality.
I appreciate it.
You can tell,
Yeah.
18 years old, huh? And you could tell.
Space, talking about pool stories, I'll tell you something I think is pretty interesting. Like, there were times, like with Gary Spaeth, where I'd go play somebody on their home table, and I pretty much knew they were going to play just about perfect. And Gary was one of those players. So he beat Buddy Hall. He beat John Brumback, I think. See, I gave John the last two on his home table.
They did beat John will tell you. Yeah. John talks about that. They had a big influence on John's game, actually.
I think John would tell you a favorable thing about playing. I gave him the last two on his home table. I think we played 15 hours or something, and I think to a draw, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, I go up there, and I'm going to play Gary Spaeth. I'm watching him warm up, and I can tell he's not going to miss any balls, and he's not going to make any position errors. I mean, I can just tell on that table. So now I'm sitting there going, okay, CJ,
I know that feeling.
How are you going to, I'm like, CJ, how are you going to beat this guy? And I just kept watching him. And he had like a real loose stroke. He had a lot of movement in his arm. And that's what I told myself. I said, I know how I'm going to beat him. I'm going to wear his arm out. So my whole strategy, it didn't have anything to do with pool and I'm going to do break from here or do this or that. My whole strategy was to wear his arm out. So now we're playing and we're going back and forth. He's staying like 3 or 4 games ahead of me. And it's been about 9 hours. He had a straight in shot, maybe a little bit of an angle, long shot. And I saw his arm misfire. And he hung the ball.
Okay.
And I got up and it just so happened, and you know how momentum is, it just so happened that he did that and I clicked in and I beat him about 15 ahead in the next hour and a half or 2 hours. And he ended up quitting.
I love it.
But that's I just think that's kind of funny. You know, people might not relate to that exactly, where you're just trying to wear the guy's arm out. But that's how we had to think back then. Like I said, you had to beat the guy into submission.
Well, it's funny.
If you're beating them on their home table, I mean, you know.
You would go on the road. I would go on the road. And the last thing I wanted to do was play a top player. But you would go on the road and the guy'd be hitting balls. You're getting ready to play the guy. And he'd let me warm up or whatever the case is. And you'll watch a guy hit the balls. And you immediately know if you're really going to have to play to beat this guy, you're going to tell pretty quickly, this guy can really play on his table, right? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't like really doing that because I could give up handicaps like you were talking about earlier, and people think that they're going to rob me when it wasn't even, it was the opposite, right? So I tried to avoid all that. But you were a rotation player more. That's a question for you. Did you play anyone on the road?
Not when I was real young. I went through a period where like the best I've ever played one pocket was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I played Amarillo Slim and I gave him 15-5, 14-5. That was what Efren was giving him. And I ended up beating him out of 32,000. But my shot making and off the end rail, I think was about as good as it could have ever possibly been. I made everything off the end rail. And I got him so weak at the end. You know, Slim was pretty old at the time. I guess he was probably 72 or something, maybe. I don't know. But I remember he had his stick and he was clenching it. And I could see that it was like he was on a ship or something. He was supporting himself. Like he was getting so weak, he had to use his stick to prop himself up. And, yeah, and I ran so many 14s and 15s on him. That was in Flyboy's place. Remember, did you play Flyboy down there?
Wasn't it Lambert's, Bella Baton Rouge during that tournament? Mr. Lambert.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to stay with
I played Slim on that front table in front of the bar.
Yeah.
And it played tough, you know.
I got roofied there. I got Mickey'd there. I'll be honest. Is Jimmy still alive? Jimmy Spears was his name. He's talking about flying. No. I used to gamble with him. He Mickey'd me, and he admitted it later because I got so sick from it. I drank a beer that he gave me, and we're getting ready to play again. And I got so sick from it, I was in the hospital for 2 days. Marcus Tremont was with me when this happened. I believe it was Marcus. Or James.
See, that's another thing that people like. I've warned some of the younger players because I don't hear of it happening, but I can't imagine it not happening. But these young players aren't aware of it. Like we used to take our own coolers in.
Oh yeah, we
did.
Under
the table, and I wouldn't drink anything because they can put stuff in with a hypodermic needle. You know, I mean, I knew people that did that.
I didn't think Flyboy would do it, but I had him a little loser, and we were good. But they hit me so hard with it, and we called it jar back then. They jarred us.
Jar, yeah.
Yeah, we called it jar.
I've been jarred 3 times.
Too. I've been jarred 3 times, but this one they just accidentally way overdid it, and I was sick, like immediately sick. I mean, like freaking immediately sick, and I actually had to go to the hospital. It was coming out of both ends of me, and I was sick.
So what you guys are saying, calling jarring, you're out there playing somebody, and they're actually putting something in your drink to get you ill, so you can lose.
This was really common back then.
It was hyacinth scalpamine is what it was. It makes women dilate during when they're giving birth. It puts them in like a coma, like a dream state.
So
man, I got jarred in Memphis one time, and I'm alone. My partner's somewhere else. I'm playing this guy on the bar table, and the guy's got me like 10 or 11 games loser, and he's really not that good a player. So my friend comes in, and he sits down. He says, "How you doing?" And I said, "Man, I'm like 10 games loser." I said, "But I'm getting ready to run 5 racks in a row." He says, "Oh, okay, good." So I get up there. I just shoot one dead in the rail.
It's amazing.
I come back and he's like, "CJ, are you all right?" I said, "Yeah, I'm getting ready to run 5 racks in a row." He goes, "You just missed that ball straight in." I said, "I know, but I'm going to run 5 racks." And I would break the balls if I won a game, and I'd squat the ball in the center of the table. And no matter where the one was, I'd miss it.
So what it does?
He was like, he comes up and he's like, "Man."
3 times.
He had to force me to quit and get me out of there. But they gave me a little bit too much, too. It messed me up for like 3 days.
Cowboy did this in Big Daddy's in Ocala, Florida, and Ronnie Wiseman is with me. And Ronnie knew that they did it to me in a birthday cake. It was the owner Butch, and they were gangsters. It was his birthday, and they hit me with it with birthday cake. And Ronnie knew they hit me with it, and he was my partner. And he wouldn't go in with me, and he begged me not to do it. Same thing. The problem is you feel good while you feel like you're in dead punch. And when you
You
miss a
feel
ball,
like you're going to play the best you've ever played.
Wow. That's nuts.
and I went broke, and we were making a ton of money, and Ronnie watched it, and he said, Scott, I told you, I tried. Oddly enough about that right now, if somebody wants to look up scopolamine, this is something you really need to be careful of, because in Asia, the Philippines, Vietnam, and throughout these countries right now, it's a big thing that these women are using. If you're out there wearing a nice watch and you're a white person, and I'm not being, I'm far from racist.
Yeah, to rob them.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go to dinner. And they hit you there just enough, right? Just enough to where you're feeling fine. And the next thing you know, you're back at your hotel room or whatever it might be, and have a good night. They'll hit you there. And there's a couple of big cases I was just looking into about this, but that's exactly what they would use, CJ. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still prevalent.
Yeah.
I think they use
dangerous.
it now. I would think I would know, but or they just aren't aware of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm surprised there hasn't been any occurrences of that happening, because
it's too easy.
With the big money that they play for, huh?
It's too easy for people to use. So I'm surprised as well. You would think, because we know that there's not all up and up characters in this world. You would think it's been used, but maybe people just aren't hip to it. Like you said at the start of this, we would go with our own coolers. And if the pool room didn't let you drink out of your own cooler, then you just probably wouldn't even play that, right? Because, that's just what it was.
Yeah, because they can put it in bottled beer, like I said, like a hypodermic needle or something, and you can watch them open the beer, and they can still have it in there.
Yeah, bottled water.
I knew a guy that they can shoot it with a hypodermic needle like 8 feet away into people's beer or drink.
They used to put it in capsules, and I knew a guy that could thumb it in this little tiny capsule, and he could thumb it right into a drink from 20 feet away. No joke. This guy would just practice this. He was called the jarro, and that's what he would do. And over. It
wasn't Gordy, was it? Gordy?
Gordy who? Do you know
Gordy?
Wasn't
his name?
I don't remember.
Gordy was one of them.
There was a Gordy Ray that also was involved in stuff like that. But
this guy was from Memphis.
Yeah.
But
he's right. He's right. There was guys that did this for a living. That they could pop it. If you're 3 seats over at the bar, they could just look over this way, and they pop it that way, and they're going to hit you.
Right in the drink. Wow.
But I want to be clear. I want to be clear about something. Like, and I know Scott and I are exactly the same in this respect. People that dump games, people that are involved with jarring and sticking up players and stuff like that. I never did any of that.
No chance.
Ever. No exceptions.
That's how I had to stand behind me my whole life.
But that makes a difference on who you attract around you.
Absolutely.
Because guys that do that, they make some quick money, but they always have a sabotage.
Long term. Long term,
they're in prison usually.
Of course. Yeah, long term, you can't do that.
What I'm saying is, as far as just like doctors and lawyers and police, there's good pool hustlers and there's what I would consider bad ones. And the bad ones, they know I know who they are. Sure. I just don't want to have anything to do with them. I'll be cordial to them, but I won't have any kind of money dealings with them whatsoever, So, you just, there is a line in the sand there. There's certain things that I just would not do.
But they know it too, right? They know that you're a good pool hustler, or I'm a good pool hustler, and they know that line as well. They don't cross that line, 100%.
Yeah, there was a lot of, and I was surprised how many of the high rollers would have a real good friend that would be double steering. When I started seeing that at a young age, and man, that was just, looking back, that was just strange, but it was getting me ready. Like we talked about, like the game as the teacher. When I got in the real world, like the business world, it was even worse.
Yeah. Way worse.
That really surprised me, because of all the bad things I've seen in the pool hustling world.
Right. You think you're getting out, you're starting fresh. You think you're starting fresh. You got this, doing the right things, and bang.
Yeah, I had a pool room in Dallas, CJ's Billiards. That's where Earl ran the 11 racks, but I opened one called Carson's Palette. My real name's Carson. So it was Carson's Palace, ended up being Carson's Live, but it was, for 2.5 years, it was the number one nightclub in Texas. We had 630,000 members.
You remember walking through there? You remember walking?
Yeah, I do now. Now that you said, because you mentioned it the other day,
right,
and now I remember.
I was freaking blown away. I mean, I had a
brand new.
This place was like, you talk about women, and you talk about, you can explain it, but you had a multitude of clubs within one club, and it was like, I thought this thing was just a home run.
Yeah, we did really well. Like on Friday nights for about 15 straight months, I averaged over 50,000 a night. There was 3 nights I did over 80,000 on that night.
Yeah,
but my record,
not
this, people in the business, but it's still strong. The best hour I ever did was 18,000 in 1 hour.
Wow. How big was it, CJ?
Originally it was 16,000 square feet with 2,000 feet, like upstairs offices, and we had a 600 square foot outdoor walk-in cooler. And then I took another 6,000 and had like a more exclusive club. That wasn't a good business deal, but when we were number one, it was 18,000 square feet.
Okay.
But I mean, the women there was unreal.
Yeah, it was unreal.
We did a Wednesday nights. We did this calendar search. So instead of like a wet T-shirt contest or a bathing, swimsuit contest,
for a calendar girl,
we did a calendar search. So what we did was we did 12 events in a row, and each winner would be a month in the calendar. So you'd have January, February, March, and we had all these big sponsors. I mean, when a girl won it, she got probably 1,500 in like stuff,
incentives and stuff. Yeah, gifts and stuff.
But we still gave them probably 700 or 800 in cash too. So they were pulling down over about $2,000 and stuff. But I remember we did dollar drinks, crown and down, and one Wednesday we did almost 23,000. That's
really
amazing, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, those are massive numbers. Those are massive.
Yeah, the dollar drinks.
1,000 square foot.
It's crown and down. So see, there's a trick to all this, of course, is we had a super bar staff, and they're upselling everything, getting them into the premium drinks. So, I mean, most of that money obviously wasn't at $1. But the dollar gets in masses of people, but especially the women. Like, women don't usually have a lot of money to go out on. Really, the average back then was about $10 or $15.
Oh, really?
And I studied that. Like, the average woman going out would have like $15.
How long? What year was this? When Carson's was going?
2001 to 2009.
Okay.
Yeah, we were building it in 2000. It might have been. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, it's just so much longer than I thought it was. Right, like you guys had just opened and you were taking me through it, but it just.
Man, I remember now. I remember that the carpet smelled brand new. Like,
yeah.
Like when I was taking you through there, because I remember that for some reason. How it smelled like that carpet. It had so much carpet.
I was blown away.
New carpet smells good, especially in a new place. It's like a new car or something.
Yeah. I was blown away.
But yeah.
How many employees did you have at that? So I had freezers, okay? And I'm just telling you, for a pool room, okay? We had a nightclub connected, but it was in the same building. We had 80 employees, give or take 80 employees for a pool room, right? And it's like nightmare because I was running the whole thing myself pretty much. How many employees did you have?
It was a really nice place, too. I went there a few times.
Thank you. How many employees? You had to have a massive staff.
Yeah, over 100. I think when we opened, we had like 115. I had 28 servers on the floor at a time and 18 bartenders on the floor. So then we had, a lot of backups. But then the kitchen staff was huge. And like the big Friday nights I did, I had 14 uniformed police officers and 9 security guys with suits with the earpieces. I mean, it was real classy. I had a manager at that time that really knew how to run clubs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
that was a
was
strong deal.
what was the, and you don't have to answer this, what was the demise of that?
The smoking law. The city of Dallas got a bunch of money from the federal government, and that happened all over the country.
Oh yeah, it did.
Happened in my pool room right here in Connecticut, for sure.
Yeah. See, the United States government did that, really, because they started giving these cities a lot of money if they made it non-smoking. And Dallas was one of them. I was right on the edge of the city of Dallas. So there's a city called Addison, which is a big bar restaurant. It has Beltline Road and bars and restaurants on both sides of the road for like miles. So when they did the no smoking thing, man, 20% of my business just went to Beltline Road because they could smoke. And 20% was enough for me to start losing $10,000 a week. So I did everything I could to keep it open, and I ended up losing about $200,000 in cash and about 2.2 million in stock, probably in 16 weeks.
Yeah, it goes fast when you start going down.
Yeah, and I knew there was just nothing I could do about it because
you know
one
what?
of the features was a garage door, and they wouldn't let us open the garage door anymore because they had smoking on the balcony. And then it just messed up the whole thing.
I'm glad I asked the question because I hear rumors about my place, and if anybody really wants to know, I have no problem talking about it. And I might tell the story sometime. But I heard rumors about that as well, and my answer was kind of always the same. But I'm glad you answered that, and that's good to know because people talk, and you know, and you just don't ever really know the truth until you hear it. So, and that makes perfect sense to me because it seemed like to me one day it was open, you're killing it, and the next day. And that's how it works, right? And it's
it goes fast.
It seems like it's
okay. Here, I'll give you one more little. This is one that I won't tell. I've never told this story, but I'm going to tell you real quick, and I'm going to leave a couple of little things out. But
sure.
What happened was when they started the no smoking thing, they were they still had to vote on it. Now I've got these attorneys that I told you about, like that I had to help Earl get the money. I mean, seriously strong.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know what they do in Dallas behind the scenes.
Yeah.
There's people that run that city that you don't know. It's not Jerry Jones and all this. It's the same all of the United States.
Yeah.
It's not a conspiracy theory. It's actually how it works.
This is how it works.
So anyway, I've got these attorneys. So we pool our money, and I get clicks, and I get Fox and Hound and a few of these places in the area. And we put up the most, but we put our money together. We had $28,000. So we give the attorneys $28,000 to fight this. So they're in there, and I have 3 attorneys in there. The main one is there, and the mayor of Dallas at that time was a lady. So she's running a little late. So she gets there. She comes in the room. She says, "Oh, sorry, guys, I'm late, blah, blah, blah." And she looks over and she says, "Oh, how are you doing?" to my lawyer friend.
Oh,
she runs over to him. She reaches down and kisses him on the cheek. He grabs her, whispers something in her ear.
You know you're dead.
And she gets up and she's blushing. I know what's going to happen. It's like a fixed deal. No, it's the other way around. So they go through it. We win. But we got the stipulation that pool rooms had to have 12 or more pool tables, and the percentage of food and alcohol compared to pool time had to be a certain.
But I'm confused then. Are you talking about your pool room or are you talking about the club?
No, the club.
Okay.
The no smoking law.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I had the pool room too. I mean, it mattered with the pool room too.
Yes.
But we got the money for the club, in North Dallas to do this.
Okay.
So anyway, so he whispers and she blushes and they sit down. Well, we won what we were trying to do, and we got them to do the stipulations that we still could smoke in our places. That's all we wanted, So after the meeting, I said, I go up to him and I'm like, man, you got to tell me. I said, what did you say to her when she kissed you on the cheek? And he said, oh, man, he said, I've known her for a long time. You know, we've known. I said, I know you've known her for a long time. But what did you say? Because the reaction was funny, and I just wanted to know. He says, she reached down and gave me a kiss on the cheek, and I grabbed her and I said, you're not just kissing me before you're getting ready to fuck me, are you? The mayor. You can bleep that out. But that's how it was, man. You know,
that's how it is.
And then,
it still is, I'm sure.
No, that's absolutely how it is, and it's that way all the way to the very top.
The very.
So, but then they brought it up again, and my attorneys told me, because I knew them through martial arts more than anything. So we had a bond outside of just, you know, attorney-client or whatever. And they told me, they said, listen, we don't want to take any more money. They're going to get this passed. We know. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
So we pulled up, and then they ended up passing it, and they ended up passing it where nobody could smoke at all.
Yeah.
It took a little while, but when that happened, man, I knew I was.
What year was that? What year was that?
Well, we were one of the first ones out here because it started. You guys remember this? It started in California.
Okay? Yes.
Yeah.
And here's how it goes with everything. It starts out west and it just goes straight across the country. And we knew in no time we were next. And I watched a couple good friends' rooms go down. Same thing. They were fighting like you were. Realized they had no chance, you know. But it just trickles across the country. And I can't remember what year it was, but it had to be like 98 or 99 or 2000. Or 2001 and 2, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong. My dates are bad. 2001 and 2. I don't know. But for you guys, we were way earlier. Connecticut
was 2004. I'll never forget. April 2004. 50% of my business was lost in a month. They stopped smoking. 50% of business was gone the next month.
Yeah, it's sick.
Well, in Texas, this was later than that. This was 2008, I think.
Okay.
I closed in 2009, so it was right in there.
And there were cities that fought it for a long time.
Yeah, right? It came back. Yeah. Down south, I think you're still smoking a bunch of pool rooms, right? Some
can't.
In Florida, you can.
Yeah.
I was just down in Florida, like that around that where that Classic Billiards is.
Yeah, you
Shout out to Classic Billiards.
I think beyond Billiards, you can smoke.
I was just on the phone with Dave Bartosiak. Shout out to our sponsor, big man.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's super cool. He's one of the best.
He loves pool.
He loves
really
pool.
Does.
Yeah,
he needs to get a couple more Rolls Royces, though, man. I mean, you know, just having like 2 or 3 isn't enough. I don't know how he can manage.
Yeah, he lives in Vero Beach. He's got all the toys. But I'll tell you what, you talk about a gambler, man. This guy, we gamble. This guy really gambles, and he's a humble guy, right? Like he likes nice things and have fun. But one week he could be hurting, and the next week he could be doing really, really, really well.
Yeah,
that's how
he's
lives.
A day trader, right? He made the money day trading.
Yeah, and he loses at day trading. He loses.
Yeah.
The way the market's going, yeah.
He wins and loses every week. He had a great week a couple of months ago, and then had a bad week the week after, then a good week, then a bad week, and that's a crazy life.
Yeah, that's like a casino.
Absolutely.
Up and down.
Yeah,
they got a little bit more control, but
yeah.
It's a trip here. Listening to you guys, you got so many of the great stories, and so many of the same people. You know what I mean? And just like like this podcast alone, just talking about the table lights and talking about spiking people's drinks and just this stuff that goes out in the world is just going to be amazing for people to go out there and learn. Because I mean, it's eye opening for somebody out there that doesn't really know about that whole other world. You know what I mean? That only plays in the supermarket area pool rooms where they go see all the light. They got to come to the dark side at some point, at least check out what really happens over the years. And I got to say thank you very much, CJ, for coming on. It was a great episode. You were fantastic. Some really great stories and highlights. And that's all I got, Scott. I don't know if you got anything else, but good stuff.
No, I mean, obviously, I think we'll have him back on, right? Like,
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I mean, if the people don't like this stuff, and I don't know what you would like, and you know,
Yeah, right.
we try to listen. We read,
Bowling. They would like bowling.
but we read the comments, right? We read the comments, and we try to improve every season, every episode. We're trying to make improvements, but I think that the improvement really is being natural, and like this type of show.
Yeah.
I think we could have CJ on every night for a month and probably talk about totally different things, right? And but it was great.
There'd be some people out there steaming, though. You know,
I know they would. I know they would.
That's it. I post a lot on Facebook and stuff, but I mean, it's material people want to read. Like, I'm not, you know, and there's always that one guy that's like, you're just a spammer. I'm like, you need to look up that word and see what it means. I'm not spamming anybody. Good grief, you know. These groups want content like I put out, you know.
Absolutely.
Read it, guess what? You don't have to read it.
That's right. Yeah, you're never going to please everybody, and for the most part, we have great people and that follow us, and we're grateful for that.
Yeah.
And thank you, really, CJ. Thanks for coming on. It's a treat to have you. I know we talked about it like a year ago or whenever I saw you, and we'll have you again. I'm grateful to have you on. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure. I appreciate it, guys. It's been fun.
Yeah. Thank you very much.